Welcome to today. We're going to talk about tools for teaching math at a distance. We've been running a little poll and we see that almost everyone here is doing some work with secondary math, and that's wonderful because that's the focus. The principles will trickle down to elementary math, but our focus for today is secondary math. Today's format is Q&A will be open during the whole time, so you can post questions as you go. We're going to start with a recording Sarah made earlier about tools for distance learning, and then we'll have live Q&A at the end. This means we can answer questions as the video plays. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Mary Omeg. I'm one of the co-founders of Boom Learning, and I'm going to let Sarah introduce herself, and then we'll start the video. Sarah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sarah Asma from Kate's Math Lessons. Thanks for coming tonight.
All right. Give me a moment, and I will start our screen share.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining our webinar tonight on tools for teaching math at a distance. First, I just want to say thank you to Mary and her team at Boom Learning for hosting tonight's webinar. Our agenda tonight is going to look like this. First, I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. We'll look at some options for math instruction at a distance, a couple different activities that you can use digitally with your students, and then we'll have a time at the end for some question and answers. So first, just a little bit about myself. My name is Sarah, and I'm the creator of katesmathlessons.com. I named my website after my daughter, Kate. I have over 10 years of experience teaching math at the middle school and high school levels. I've taught in traditional brick and mortar schools. I taught at an alternative high school for at-risk students, where students were physically in my classroom, but my course was delivered online. And then I also taught online for virtual school. My goal with tonight's webinar is not to give you an exhaustive list of resources, but to narrow it down to try to show you a few that I think will be helpful for you, and to show you resources that already exist that you can use as they are, and ones that you can edit or create your own. First, let's look at some options for math instruction at a distance. I've created lots of free lessons at katesmathlessons.com that you're welcome to use with your students. I've got lessons from pre-algebra up to algebra 2. A lot of those lessons have short videos with examples and some practice quizzes with instant feedback. So those are all free if you want to use those with your students. The next resource I want to talk about is called EdPuzzle. EdPuzzle allows you to take a video and to make it interactive. You can use a video that you've made yourself or one that you found online, maybe on YouTube or Khan Academy. When I'm in the physical classroom teaching new material, I take breaks. I stop and ask students questions. I give them problems to try on their own, and then we check back together as a class to see how everyone did. And what I like about EdPuzzle is it allows you to sort of replicate that same experience that you used in the physical classroom. So EdPuzzle allows you to insert pauses or breaks in a video and to add in your own questions that students have to respond to before they can continue on. So I'm going to share my screen with you and show you what an EdPuzzle looks like and show you how to create your own. So with EdPuzzle, you can use other EdPuzzles that teachers have created. So you can search over here on the left for other EdPuzzles, and you can search for the topic that you're working on and see if there's already an EdPuzzle that exists, or you can make your own. So I'll start by showing you an EdPuzzle that I made just as an example for you. Students will see the video that you've inserted, and then they'll see this is their to-do list over here. And I've just put in one question just to show you what it looks like for a student. If you look down here where this little raindrop is, that's where the pauses will be in your video. So students will hit play. The video will play until it hits that spot where you've inserted your question or your note, and the question will show up over here for students. So I made this a multiple choice question, which operation will undo addition. They click which one they think is correct, and then they hit submit. If they want to re-watch that section of the video, they can re-watch it again if they need a little extra help. So they hit submit, and it shows them whether their answer is right or not. They hit continue, and then the video keeps playing. One other thing that I want to show you is that if I scroll down here, you can see that there are already 428 other video versions that use the same one-step equations video that I've made. So before you make your own EdPuzzle, I would search for that video and see if there's already one that exists and save yourself some time. So you can search here and type in the topic that you're looking for, or if you have a specific YouTube video that you're going to use, plug that in and check first to see if there's already an EdPuzzle that's been made with that video. To make your own EdPuzzle, you'll want to be where it says My Content, and you can click Add Content if you want to upload a video from your computer or from your Google Drive. I'll show you how to make one using a YouTube video. If you click here on YouTube, you can search here for a specific video, or you can just type in a link of a video that you already know. So I've put in a link to a video on factoring quadratics. So when you're making your own EdPuzzle, you could just drag this circle here to wherever you want the pause to be in the video. So you can, watch it yourself and then pause in an appropriate place. And then you go up here to where it says questions, and you can choose multiple choice. Those are graded automatically. Open-ended, which you would have to grade manually. Or you can just put a note in if you want to say, hey, don't forget to write this down, or just, write a little note to students that way. So if you choose multiple choice, you just type your question in here, and then your answer choices are down here. You can adjust which one is correct this way. You can add additional answer choices here, and then you just click Finish. And so you can go in and add multiple questions. You can have some multiple choice, some open-ended. It's up to you how you want to make your EdPuzzle. After you've clicked Finish and your EdPuzzle is ready to go, you can assign it to students. If you click over here where it says Assign, you can assign it to multiple classes at a time. You can set a start date, a due date. If you have this where it says Prevent Skipping, if you have that on, they won't be able to skip part of your video. There's also an option for closed captioning. You can also assign it by clicking on Public Links, and it gives you a link you can share with your colleagues, and it also gives you an embedded code if you want to embed that on your LMS. Next, we're going to look at some options for digital math activities that you can use remotely with your students. We'll look at Google Forms, and I'll show you how to turn a Google form into a quiz that's graded automatically. We'll look at GoFormative, which allows you to take a paper worksheet and turn it into a digital activity that's graded automatically. And then last, I saved my favorite for last, we'll look at what Boom cards are and how to make those for your students. So the first activity we'll look at is a Google form. It's easy to take a Google form and to turn it into a quiz that's graded automatically. So this is one that I've set up already, and if you go to katesmathlessons.com in the blog post, I will have a link to this. So if you just click on that link, it will make a copy that will go straight to your Google Drive, and so you can open it up just like the one that I'm seeing here. And then you can edit it however you want. This one is set up to be a quiz. I can send it to students. It will send them this as a quiz. They'll complete the questions and hit submit, and it will grade it automatically. And then their answer will show up when I click on responses. I'll be able to see all of the students' scores. So Google Forms are really easy to edit. So if you want to start with the one that I've already made, you can just go in and edit the title, edit the directions, and then you can delete questions you don't want and add in questions of your own. So I'll show you real quick how to add your own question. You just hit this plus sign over here on the right. It inserts a blank question, and you can choose if you want it to be multiple choice. A lot of times I choose short answer if I want the answer to be just one number. You can do check boxes if you want them to check multiple answers. You could pick file upload. Say you wanted students to upload a picture of their work. You could do that as an option. So Google makes it easy. They've got lots of choices. You can customize your quiz to meet the needs of your students. And then you'll click on answer key, and then you just mark what the correct answer is. I always click required to make sure that students don't accidentally skip a question. After you've made all your edits and it's ready to go, you can assign it to students. If you want to see what it will look like for a student, you can hit this preview button here. Or a lot of times what I do is I just hit send and I email it to myself and take it myself and make sure that I've set it up correctly. So to assign it to students, you can either type in all their individual emails, or it's probably faster to grab a link here, or you can grab an embed code if you want to put that on your LMS. I wanted to also point out that math questions are sometimes hard to type out, especially if they involve exponents or radical signs, things like that. They're hard to type out the question. So one way around that is I just use the question as an image instead of typing it. So you can use your favorite program if you have a program you use to type out your math problems, or you could just handwrite it and take a picture of it and insert it that way to get around that. The next type of digital activity I want to talk about are called formatives. Formatives are at goformative.com, and you can sign up for a free account. You can use an unlimited number of formatives, so you can use ones that were made by another teacher, or you can have up to 20 uploads with the free account. So the great thing about formative is it lets you take what you probably would have used as a paper worksheet in the physical classroom and turn it into a digital activity that you can use remotely with students. So you can upload a worksheet as a PDF, or if you don't have it saved on your computer, you can just take a picture of it and upload it as a picture. So you can start by typing in your topic and see if there's a formative that's already been made that you want to use. Or if you want to make your own, you can click on New Formative, hit this plus sign, and then if you have it saved on your computer, you can upload it as a PDF or a document or a Google Doc. If you don't have that, you can just take a picture of it and then upload it as an image. So I'll show you one that I've already uploaded. This systems of equations. So I've just uploaded a worksheet that I would have used in the physical classroom, and I want to still be able to use it remotely with my students. So I have the worksheet up here, and what I can do is I can click anywhere I want on this worksheet to add in questions. So I'm going to go over here by number 1 and just click anywhere near number 1, and I can add in all sorts of things. I can embed something, I can add images, text, video. So this would be a great way if you want to add in a short video with instructions for the worksheet. You could do that here, or if you want to add in like a lesson video before they do the assignment, this is a great way to do it through formative. So for this example, I'm just going to click on multiple choice question. It'll pop up on the right-hand side, and you can just say something like solve number 1. You don't need to retype it. You put the number 1 by question number 1 on the worksheet. And then you can type in possible answers if you want to give students multiple choices. Or if you wanted to say on number 2, instead of making that one multiple choice, you could just make it a short answer one where they have to type in the answer. So you could just say solve number 2, and then type in the correct answer here. Another feature that I like about Go Formative is the show your work option. If you look here when you add, you have this option over here on the right to show your work, and that will pop up a whiteboard for students that they can write on. So if they've got an iPad, they could just write right on there to show their work, or they can take a picture of their work and upload it as an image. Another good thing about it is that you can edit the background. So say it's a graphing question, you could add in your own picture of a blank graph, and then students could use the pencil tool to draw in the points or draw in the rest of the graph. Just one last note about Go Formative. If you're uploading a worksheet that you've purchased somewhere, say on Teachers Pay Teachers, just make sure you have the proper permissions before you post it online. We just want to make sure that we're sharing work in a respectful way and a legal way. The last thing I want to talk about are called boom cards. If you're not familiar with boom cards, you need to test them out to see how they work. They are essentially digital interactive task cards where students get immediate feedback on their answers. So I love them because they're so interactive, they're graded automatically. You can sign up for a free account at boomlearning.com, or if your school is closed due to COVID-19, you may be eligible for a free Ultimate account. The Ultimate account comes with some extra features like student reports, and with the Ultimate account, you can create an unlimited number of your own boom decks. So I think the easiest way to understand boom cards is just to show you a couple that I've made to show you how they work. This is an example of a deck of cards that I've made on graphing inequalities. So it's just a multiple choice question that I made, and you can see that if the student clicks the wrong answer, it marks it as incorrect, and then it lets them try again until they get the correct answer. So once they click the correct answer, it marks it as correct, and then it moves them forward to the next card in the deck of cards. This is just another multiple choice question, and you can see if I mark the wrong answer, it marks it incorrect. As soon as I choose the correct answer, it moves it forward. So those are just some examples of multiple choice questions that you can make. You can also make what's called a fill in the blank question. So this is a deck of cards that I made on the distributive property, and it has 2 empty boxes here where students just type in the answer. So I'll show you what it will look like. Say a student gets part of the answer right. It will mark which part of the question is correct with blue, and then if it's in red, that means they need to correct it. And then once they type in the correct answer, it moves them forward to the next card in the deck. Here's another example of a fill in the blank question. Here they have to find the circumference and they type in the answer. And the nice thing about Boom cards is you can program it to accept more than one answer. So in this case, I have it set up to accept an answer if they use the pi button on their calculator or if they use 3.14 for pi. So you can set it up to accept multiple answers, and I will show you how to do that in just a minute. My favorite feature of Boom cards is what's called a drag and drop question. So you can make items movable. So I've set it up so students can move these symbols and they can drag them into a certain area to be marked as correct. So here you can see that if I drag the wrong symbol, it moves it right back, and then I can try again. It's also great if you want to do like a matching activity. So here in this one, they drag the term to the correct graph. If they move a term to the wrong one and hit submit, it will just move it back until they get it correct. There are a lot of different decks available in the library at Boom Learning, so you can check there to see if there's a deck that's already been made for the topic that you're working with. Or if you want to make your own, I'm going to show you quickly just the basics of making your own decks of Boom cards. So this is what the editing mode looks like. This main white area here in the middle is what a student will see on their deck of cards. So I can start by dragging this text button onto the card, and it will create a text box that I can edit. I'll just make a simple question, what is 2 plus 3? And then you can edit this. The editing features are similar to other programs that you probably use. You can adjust the size, the font, the color, so you can customize this to fit your style. So you can type your question onto the screen. If you're more comfortable using a different program to type your questions out, you can type it in a different program and then just insert it as an image. So I'll show you how to do a multiple choice question first. You just drag the multiple choice button onto the card. The default is to have 4 possible answers, but you can delete some, add extras. You can customize this as well. The option that says correct is where you want to type in the correct answer, and then you want to type in possible wrong answers in the other boxes. The default is to show these answer options to students in a random order, but you can change that down here where it says randomize items. You can just unclick that if you want to. To see what it will look like for a student, you just click on preview. So this is what a student will see. They'll see your question here, and then you'll see the possible answers here. If they click on the wrong answer, it will mark it as incorrect. And as soon as they click on the option that you've marked as correct, it will accept it and it will move them forward to the next card in your deck. So that's a multiple choice option. To add a fill in the blank question, I can go over here and add another card. I'm going to type the same question just to show you how it works. So this time, instead of giving them choices, I'm going to just have them type the number into the box. I'm going to make this just a little bit larger. To add a fill in the blank option, you drag the fill in the blank button onto the card, and you can adjust the size of the box that students type in. To program it to accept the right answer, you just double click on it, and then you just type in the answer that you want students to type in, and you hit submit. If you want it to accept more than one answer, you can do that again and hit submit again, and it will accept more answers. And then you can change the font and the size, all of that as well. So now when students look at this card, instead of having choices to click on, they have to type in the number. So if they type in a number that you haven't entered, it will mark it as incorrect. And as soon as they type in the number that you've programmed, it will accept it as correct and move it forward. The last thing I want to show you is how to use the drag and drop option with Boom cards. And for the sake of time, I started this one already. This is just a text box. This is just a rectangle. And these are more text boxes down here. The way it's set up right now, nothing is movable. If I click on preview, you can see that I can click on these and nothing happens. To make an object movable, all you need to do is click on it, and then you click up here where it says draggable. And so I'm going to make all three of these options movable. So now when I click on the preview, you can see that now I can move them around on the screen, which is pretty cool. So if you want to program it now to accept a certain answer, you need to go back and assign it to what's called a drop zone. So I added this rectangle in here as the answer area. So I need to designate that as the drop zone. So that's where I want students to drag the correct answers into. And then to assign the correct answer, you grab this little finger pointer by the correct answer and you drag it up until it matches onto the flag and let go. So you'll see this line here to show which one is the correct answer. So now as a student, if I drag in one that wasn't assigned to the drop zone, it'll mark it as incorrect. And as soon as they drag in the correct answer, now it will mark it as correct and move them forward. So I know that was just a short and fast summary of how to make your own Boom cards. I will put some links on katesmathlessons.com to more helpful videos at Boom Learning, and I'll also put a link to an email course if you're interested in all the details of making your own Boom cards. Otherwise, remember there are lots of decks that are already made, so you can check out the library at Boom Learning to see if you want to use one that's already been created. Thanks for watching tonight. I hope you learned about a few resources that will be helpful for you in your classroom. If you head to katesmathlessons.com after the webinar, I will have a post up with all the links that I talked about, a few free products if you want to just try them with your students first, and I will also have a list of a few additional resources that I didn't have time to talk about tonight. Next, I'm going to turn it back over to Mary for our question and answer time.
Jessica had a question about EdPuzzle. She wanted to know if you could link EdPuzzles to Google Classroom. So.
Yes, you can. EdPuzzle could give you a link that you can share with students, or you can get an embed code if you want to embed it in whichever LMS you're using.
And then Tamala, I hope I have that pronounced correctly, had a question about whether formative was self-grading. Do you want to go ahead and give a live answer for everyone to that one?
Sure. Formative has a lot of different options that you can choose. Some of them are self-grading and some are not. So if you choose like the check your work or show your work option, you'd have to obviously grade that by hand. But the multiple choice and the short answer, those are graded automatically.
Someone was, how can you check what answer was wrong on Boom cards? All right, so on my screen here, I'm currently in the reports tab. So I picked this one because in reports, I can choose a couple different reports. I only have data for one student here. So this allows me to see, and there's a little legend down here about how each of this is calculated. This allows me to see multiple students across multiple decks in one view. If I want to know exactly what a student got wrong, so here on Greek and Latin root cards, I click the little circle and it shows me what the student did. I can see how long they had to think about something. So while this one is correct, they did have to think about it a while. On this one, they got it wrong very quickly. They were just guessing. Same here. So sometimes you can tell the students are just guessing. They really have no idea. Whereas here, yeah, so on all of these, I can tell the student just does not know what all the content that was gotten wrong. If there was a blue bar here and it was still wrong, I would know they did have some beliefs about what could be a right answer. They just ended up with the wrong answer. But in this case, the student just doesn't know the content at all on those. So that's a great opportunity to reteach. And I can pull it up and see what they chose as the wrong answer. So they thought that Luna meant crazy instead of moon. That's close. And then here I can see, you know, if I want to, what they got right, but that's less interesting to me for reteaching purposes. Students also have a view like this. Students can also look at how they did. They have access to the exact same view as you do. So they can actually check their own learning and see how they've done and where they can do better. There's a question, Sarah, from Lauren Jack. For formative, can you export a report into Excel?
I was trying to remember if that was an option. I haven't done it with Excel. I know there were options, like if you use Google Classroom. I would have to go back and look. They have, linked on my blog post to their help center. They have a lot of really helpful articles. I'm sure it would be specifically answered there.
For those of us who use Google Classroom, can all of this be easily incorporated, and how would you do that? What is the cost of each of these resources, especially for admins to consider for next year? So Sarah, I will let you take that broadly, and I will address Boom specifically.
Yeah, I tried to pick all of them that would be free. So all of the ones I talked about have a free option. They all have, you know, certain limits on how many you can have. Like Go Formative, you can have up to 20 of your own uploads, but then you can use an unlimited ones that are already created. And then EdPuzzle, you can store, same thing, you can store up to 20 videos, but you can use other EdPuzzles that are created too. With EdPuzzle, if you share it with someone else, they increase your storage space. And then they all have, you know, paid versions as well that come with more features.
And with Boom, there is in our help, if you go there, an FAQ on how, there's a simple version of how to integrate with Google, which assumes you are familiar with setting up a Google Classroom. There is a more detailed one in our troubleshooting guide for those of you not familiar with setting up a Google Classroom, which actually walks you through the process of setting up a Google Classroom if you're using that to share students with each other. So in our troubleshooting, if you search on Google Classroom, you'll find different levels of detail depending on your need. As far as price, our starter option is free. Every deck that you fast pins forever, they have a timeout. As for premium, to get student data reporting for more than 5 students, you do need to move to a premium account. For up to 50 students, it's $15 a year. High schoolers and middle schoolers often need more. So our power is $25 for the whole year for data reporting for 150 students. If you need up to 200, Ultimate is $35 for the whole year. And then we also sell additional student seats over that for 50 cents each. And we're exploring some alternative options for schools. Your school can buy with a purchase order. There is, again, in our help, if you search on purchase orders, we have a process for how to request a school account by purchase. On EdPuzzle Informatives, when you create a quiz or video, does it automatically share it with everyone? Sarah, do you know the answer to that?
So formatives, if you don't share that with anyone, then it's just private, just to whoever is in your class. You have the option to publish it as like public, or you can share it. But if you don't choose that option, then it's private. EdPuzzle, I could not find a way to make it private. So I think any EdPuzzle you make is public.
And that's something to be very aware of because schools have different privacy requirements. So do make sure you're checking in with your school about what's allowed and not allowed. Some software is not allowed in schools because it doesn't meet school privacy requirements. Google Meet, can we share? Screen sharing is tricky with anything, as you've seen today. With Boom cards, screen sharing, we have a great webinar actually by our speech language pathologists on how they screen share because they do their entire teaching with screen share. So in their case, they tend to do screen share with preview because they're using it instructionally. If you want the student to interact with the deck and you want to see the results, it's actually ideal to have the student share to you and not the other direction because most screen sharing apps provide only limited equivalencies. So for example, Zoom lets you equate a mouse click but it doesn't have an equivalent of click and drag. So drag and drop isn't screen shareable from the student back to the teacher if the teacher's sharing out to the student. But if the share starts from the student side and is shared out to the teacher can watch the drag and drop, and the student can actually do the drag and drop. So again, screen sharing is unique to each platform. You really need to spend some time in the FAQs for your platform to see what it has enabled and what it does not enable. All right. And thank you for the compliment about Boom for remote learning. Another thing I want to suggest, I don't know how many people have tried this for remote learning, especially for group session. Do assign the deck to the students, have them play it during the group session, and go to our reports window that I was in earlier, and there's a little button called Go Live. And it will feed you the students' data live as they're practicing, so you can see who's making mistakes and how they're doing. So Go Live might be an option for some remote sessions where you're doing a small group and you want to intervene there.
Christina wanted to know if you could embed them in Canvas.
Canvas is tricky, so is Teams, because they have rules about links. So you need to check with your IT group about enabling the Boom links. We do know there are some challenges. We do have our, you would use the hyperplay link or the fast pin link and put it in there, but you might need to check in with your IT department about what they have, what switches they need to flip if you can't use it right off the bat, because they might have to alter some switches for you to be able to do that. Schoology is the same. The hyperplay link and the fast pin link that's available below the short pin that's generated were both created so you could paste those into any LMS that allows you to add a link and assign via link. So you just paste the link in and it's a go. But again, in some school IT systems, they're going to need to whitelist boomlearning.com as an allowed destination for a click out from the LMS for safety.
I have a blog post up with all the links of each type of activity that I talked about, and I'll put the video there as well.
And it's katesmathlessons.com, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so you'll find all the resource links there. All right, we have some wonderful thank yous to you, Kate, for doing the tutorial.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you, everyone who joined us.
Thanks for having me.